On October 8th, 2024, at about 20:04 local time, a Beechcraft 95-B55 Baron, November 7-3 Whiskey Alpha, was destroyed when it was involved in an accident near the Catalina Airport, Avalon, California. The airline transport pilot and 4 passengers were fatally injured. The aircraft was registered to and being operated by the pilot under provisions of 14 Code of Federal Regulations, Part 91, as a personal flight, which was destined to the Santa Monica Airport in California. Night instrument meteorological conditions prevailed at the time. Preliminary information indicates that the pilot, who owns a flight school at the Santa Monica Airport, flew to Catalina to pick up individuals related to the school who were stranded at the airport due to issues with another flight school plane. The pilot prearranged for his arrival after 5 p.m., but not for takeoff, and he was advised of that. According to preliminary automatic dependent surveillance broadcast ADSB data, the airplane arrived at Catalina earlier in the day at approximately 18:19 local time. About 1 hour and 40 minutes later, at 2000 hours, the airplane was observed taxiing from the ramp to runway 22 at Kilo Alpha Victor X-ray. At about 20:03 and 52 seconds, the airplane began its takeoff roll from the runway. At 20:04 and 17 seconds, the airplane was observed about halfway through the runway and climbing at 25 feet AGL. At 20:04:27 seconds, the airplane was observed at 75 feet AGL, about 150 feet from the departure end of runway 22, when it stopped the climb. The next data point, recorded at 20:04 and 30 seconds, showed an altitude of approximately 50 feet AGL, 102 knots ground speed, and approximately 640 feet per minute climb rate. At 20:04 and 38 seconds local time, the airplane was observed at 1500 feet MSL, had accelerated to about 122 knots ground speed, and was descending at 1800 feet per minute. According to FAA records, the pilot held an airline transport pilot certificate issued on December 7, 2018, with a rating for airplane multi-engine land and commercial privileges and airplane single-engine land. He held a type rating in the CE 500, but with limitations requiring a second pilot in command while flying it. His second-class FAA medical was issued on July of 2024. The pilot also held a CFI and ground instructor rating. The accident aircraft, manufacturer's serial number Tango Charlie TAC 1262, was a 6-seat, twin-engine, low-wing, retractable gear airplane powered by 2 Continental IO 470 reciprocating engines and full feathering propellers. According to the Pilot Operating Handbook, the airplane is approved for VFR day and night as well as IFR day and night operations when the required equipment is installed and operational. South Catalina Island is located about 20 miles offshore from the southern California mainland. The island terrain is extremely rugged. Alpha Victor X-ray was situated on a small mesa at an elevation of approximately 1,600 feet MSL. According to the Catalina Conservancy, which is the steward agency for Alpha Victor X-ray, the airport mesa was man-made by removing the tops of 2 adjacent mountains and using that material to fill in the lower elevation region between the two. The airport and runway topography are somewhat unusual. It is very common practice for flight schools and fixed-base operators in that region to require airport-specific checkouts prior to allowing any pilot to fly there on his or her own. The single concrete runway, designated 422, measured 3,000 by 75 feet. The threshold of runway 22 is situated at an elevation of 1,553 feet MSL, and over the first 2,000 feet, the runway sloped evenly upward to an elevation of approximately 1,597 feet MSL. This yielded a runway gradient of about 2.2%, or about 1.26 degrees. Beyond that point, the runway rose more gradually to a maximum elevation of about 1,605 feet MSL at the threshold of runway 4. The gradient profile made the runway appear humped, and rendered aircraft positioned at the opposite thresholds invisible to one another. Airport remarks indicate that operations are prohibited at night or when the airport is unattended. Also, runway lights at the airport have been notamed out for several years. According to the Catalina Conservancy website information for pilots, be aware: 1. There are no familiar visual cues for altitude reference. You must rely on your altimeter. Emphasis in the original. A preliminary review of available meteorological data suggests that night instrument meteorological conditions prevailed at the accident site. The recorded weather at nearby Naval Auxiliary Landing Field San Clemente Island, Kilo November Uniform Charlie, at 20:56, about 52 minutes after the accident, included winds 270 at 5 knots, 10 miles visibility, overcast layer 700 feet AGL, and an altimeter setting of 2.989 inches of mercury. The recorded weather at another nearby station, San Nicolas Island Naval Outlying Field, Kilo November Sierra India, at 19:53, about 11 minutes before the accident, included winds 310 at 9 knots, 10 miles visibility, overcast layer 300 feet AGL, and an altimeter setting of 2.985 inches of mercury. A review of some weather cameras shows the marine layer was in, with tops ranging between 1,400 and 1,500 feet MSL. According to the National Weather Service area forecast discussion for the Los Angeles and Oxnard, California area dated 7 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, Tuesday, October 8, 2024, above normal temperatures will continue across valley and inland areas through Friday, with normal to slightly below normal temperatures at the coasts. Night through morning low clouds will continue along the coast with dense fog and low visibilities at times. At 10:03 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, Tuesday, October 8, 2024, the following report was added to the discussion. Low clouds and fog have pushed into most coastal areas tonight and will continue to expand into the coastal plains overnight as the trough remains over the area. The marine layer appears to be slightly deeper, but should remain out of most coastal valleys. Areas of dense fog are possible tonight, but currently holding off a dense fog advisory until observation supported. High pressure builds in from the west Wednesday, and heights are forecast to rise about 3 decameters. This will further compress an already shallow marine layer, leading to plenty of fog, possibly tense, for the area. Temperatures Wednesday look similar to today's, but need to consider warming the warmer valleys of Santa Barbara and San Ynez counties, where high pressure will be the strongest. The current forecast looks on track, with only minor changes made to the cloud and fog forecast near the coast for tonight into tomorrow morning. As stated before, this is preliminary information, subject to change, and might contain errors. The accident is currently under investigation by the NTSB.